I'm about that
And there we
cat
are.
countdown.
I apologize. It was the only 3-minute one we had. We had some technical difficulties, folks, before we came on live, and we still have some technical difficulties as we have Bradley frozen staring at his watch. But Frank, he looks good, right?
Oh my God, he is one of the most amazing looking people I've ever met in my entire life.
Well, hopefully you guys can hear me. If you can't see me on the screen, that's okay.
We can see you, and you are phenomenally looking great.
Yeah,
well,
you're
thanks,
looking
guys.
wonderful, man. Nice, just sitting there all nice and frozen up, and man, we got a bunch of people already joining in and jumping in on the show.
Wonderful.
And, exciting stuff. Michelle was letting you know, Bradley, at least that they're hearing you. Maybe they're not seeing you, but at least they're hearing you. So,
all right.
So Frank, what? I guess we should introduce ourselves. Not that everybody does know us all, but Darren Peppard coming to you for the last time from the worldwide headquarters of Road to Awesome LLC in Colorado. The next time I'll be in transit, and then after that to the new worldwide headquarters.
And
I'm Bradley W. Skinner. Today, I'm actually on the campus of Thunder Basin High School in Gillette, Wyoming. So you can see I've got some players out here practicing as they're getting ready for state tennis. So, yep, we're here at state tennis this weekend.
Yeah, and I wish we could see them getting ready for state tennis, but hey, we have a visual. We got this.
That's right. We got an idea of what it looks like. So, absolutely, yes. And we got a whole bunch of people joining in. Park giving us a shout out from California. We got Melissa Claire up there in Canada. Michelle in Southern New Jersey, just like Frank. People all over the place. So, guys, exciting stuff. Final show of September, episode number 68. And our special guest today, I'll tell you what, I don't know if you guys are big podcast fans. I am. And this guy that we're going to bring on has got one of the absolute best podcasts that is out there, the Teaching Champions podcast. Just absolutely love it. Our guy, Brian Martin. Guys, let's get Brian in here. Get him joined in with the team. Brian, welcome, man. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Welcome, guys. I appreciate being here. I've had experience talking with Darren on several occasions, but Dr. Frank and Bradley, I've watched both of you speak, and it's just a pleasure and an honor to meet you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. We're excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you.
And first of all, we are way too excited to see you. So thank you for throwing that out at us, but you got this, man. So go. First, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, obviously my name is Brian Martin. I am a second grade teacher in Western New York, a small rural district. We're about 60 miles south of Buffalo, New York. And I've been teaching at the primary. Yeah, absolutely. Go Bills. And been teaching at the primary level for almost 20 years. And I've taught kindergarten, first and second. I'm a veteran. I did a tour in Iraq. I've also been assistant basketball coach for about 15 years. And I just stepped away last year. But during that time, we went to 6 Final Fours and 2 state championships. So just all of that is great life experiences and everything. So and I have a beautiful wife, and so got to mention her.
Absolutely. You don't want to forget your better half.
First of all, thank you for your service and your beautiful wife. Can you get her here on stage with us or no?
I think she's downstairs right now enjoying some QVC. So
there you go. Yeah,
be careful with that.
That's right. It's a costly show for you, is what you're saying.
There's some better programs. We need some comedy shows or something for her to watch.
There you go. Absolutely. So Brian, I know in listening to your podcast, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes, but you're back in front of kids right now for the first time in like 18 months, man. What has it been like for you? Just this first however many weeks you're in, highs, lows, that kind of stuff. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your classroom.
Yeah, so it's been an unbelievable experience, and just like everybody in the teaching world, we were affected, and so that March came around when COVID first hit, and they closed everybody down, and we taught remotely. And then last year, our district was in the hybrid format, but they needed teachers to teach one teacher per grade level to teach remotely. So my wife and I, we both taught remotely, and we taught from home too. So, we had zero contact with the school in person for like a year and a half. And then you can't put it into words. Like, we started late. So New York starts late. It's about 2 weeks ago, and I opened my door up, and my building's pre-K through 3, and I'm the first row on my hallway, and the kindergartners gotta walk past us, and it comes in like waves. You got the kindergarten, then the first grade, then the second graders come, and it was just such an unbelievable, that feeling where like the hairs on your hand start standing up when you're standing out there, and you just see like in person all these kids, and it was unbelievable. The energy, like, you guys are all speakers, so like that energy, the difference between talking on Zoom and then giving a presentation when you're live and you can just feed off of everybody and everything. Like, last year it was a special experience. The kids did great. I was so proud of them. But being right there in front of the kids and being able to interact with them, it's so unbelievable. And the big thing for me when you talk about what are some of the highs and lows, I guess the energy and being there and being able to joke around with them a little bit more and having that connection, definitely the high. The low, classroom management. It's a little bit different when you're on Zoom and then when you're in person. So it's getting that classroom management down, the transitions, a little bit rusty. It's like if you're a basketball player or tennis and you don't pick up that racket for a year and a half, and then you go out onto the tennis court, you got to take a couple swings before it's nice and smooth again. So just working off that rust and then enjoying and being in the moment and loving every second of it.
Absolutely.
And Bradley, he doesn't look like he's moving, but he is. And your energy is knocking the surfboards right off of my wall.
Well, I love that. And I know you bring a lot of energy too there, Dr. Frank. So
you said before, you started out by saying when people are walking by you and you have that energy and it's blasting off of everything in your hallway. I mean, how amazing is that when not only for you, but when the students are blasting off of each other? It's a whole different level, I think.
Yeah, and the kids they like being in person. Some of them thrive in the virtual realm. But my wife, we were coming in the other day into the school, and a car pulls up. He rolls down the window, and he goes, "Mrs. Martin," he goes, "I just want to thank you so much for last year." He goes, "What you gave my daughter was so special and so amazing." And so that was really special. But just seeing the kids interact and laugh and enjoy being around each other, it's super, super. And then
Brian, you and I.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you finish your thought, then I'll jump in.
Yeah, I was just saying, like when you talk about that energy, like just on my own personal level, like waving to the kindergartners as they go by, and now sometime they're so cute. You got 4 and 5-year-olds, and with their little book bags as they're coming through, and they're waving to you, and they're getting more comfortable and saying hi, and it's just at the primary level, it's so neat, and sometimes you forget like how small a 4 or 5-year-old is at the beginning of kindergarten and how much they grow throughout the years.
Yeah. Yeah, they come in about that big, don't they, Frank? They really do.
That is about that.
That's right. Before you know it, they're a whole lot bigger than that. So what I was going to say was, you and I've known each other for I think about a year now, and we've had a number of conversations. What I did not know, something I just learned, is that your wife teaches in the same building as you. I did not know that.
Yeah. Yep. So she teaches kindergarten and I teach second grade.
There you go. That's outstanding. Have you guys been in the same building together this whole time, or is that relatively
No, same district. We were different schools. Then we had 5 elementary schools for a while, and then it consolidated down to 2, and so now we're at the same school.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
that's really awesome. Yeah. So let's transition to the podcast for just a minute, because you were just telling the story about the kindergartners passing in front of you. That wave of kindergartners and the first graders, and you actually told that story on a recent episode of your podcast, which I think was awesome. So again, it's the Teaching Champions podcast. So make sure you're checking that thing out. If you're not, I know it's on iTunes and Spotify, and I mean every place you can get a podcast. But Brian, maybe tell our audience just a little bit about kind of what the platform is for the podcast, and what your purpose and what your motivation is behind doing that.
Absolutely. So I think like the platform, I'm just trying to put like positivity out into the world. I think negativity sticks, and it's so much easier to get wrapped up in the negative. And John Gordon has a saying, and he goes, "You gotta feed and weed and weed and feed." And what he's talking about is that positivity and that negativity. And you got to feed the positive and you got to weed out the negative. And we can teaching's tough. I mean, every single person that's on here, that's listening right now, you guys, you understand. I mean, it's not easy. So, and it's easy to fall like almost victim or prey to that negativity. So we gotta be intentional about feeding that positivity. So I guess what I want to do, I want to put a lot of positivity out there. I want to expose people to different stories, things that other educators might not be aware of, but might be inspired by. Being at the primary level. So I'm always like, I'm the only male. Yeah, the phys ed teachers, the music teacher, our principal. But as far as general education teachers, I'm the only male, and it's always been that way. And so a lot of the ladies, they might not be used to like some of the college coaches. And I've gone like with the basketball program. I got to go see like Bob Huggins, the coach of West Virginia, speak. When Shaka Smart was at VCU, I went and watched him speak. So I've been to a bunch, and there's several other like Division I coaches. And sometimes we think, it's just basketball. But these coaches are teachers, and they have to build a culture. They have to deal with a ton of different problems. And it's like bringing a group of collective individuals together for a common cause, putting egos aside. And so I'm just sharing those stories. And then I'm expanding my own universe. Like one of my favorite stories that I love telling, and if it wasn't for this podcast, I would have never picked up on, was Sarah Blakely from Spanx. So she's the CEO of Spanx, self-made. Like, go check her out on YouTube, on different podcasts. But she tells a story about making mistakes. And this is something that's been huge in my classroom, but it just, I heard her talk and it just solidified, because we're so afraid of making mistakes. Like if we make a mistake that we're less than. And she said when she was a kid that she would come home from school and her dad would be waiting by the door. And he would ask her, she comes in as they're sitting around the dinner table. He didn't want to know, what did you succeed at that day? He didn't want to know, did you get 100 on that spelling test? He wanted to know, what did you fail at? What did you fail at? And that's huge because, she said she had to fail so much to break into Spanx. She had a couple $1,000s in the bank. She broke in an industry that was male dominated. And she said she had to fail every step of the way. But she said failure for her, she said, let me reframe that. Failure isn't not succeeding, because going out there trying, that's the feedback loop. I go out there, I try, I learn, I grow, continuously doing that. She said failure for her is not trying, not going after, because you're afraid of what everybody else thinks or that you're going to fall short. So she just said making mistakes, and the way her father framed it for her has been so crucial. So I would say, that's one of the biggest parts of my classroom is making mistakes. And, I don't want to talk too much, but, Dabo Sweeney, when we talk about coaches right here, he says when it comes to meetings, so he's the coach of the Clemson football team. If you don't know football, Clemson is unbelievable. One of the top 5 programs out there. When he took over Clemson, he said they were a mediocre program at best, and that he's built them into one of the perennial powerhouses out there. And he says every team meeting that he goes to, and he's been doing this for 8-10 years, he brings 2 signs with him. And the first sign is belief. So he has this little red cutout and wooden belief sign, and he puts that there. Then he says he also has this other sign that says it can't be done, but the T is crossed out, so it says it can be done. And he says, number one, belief, that you always have to have belief. If you want to be successful, if you want to do amazing things, you have to have that self-belief. If you want to be a leader, if you want to lead an organization, whether it's a football team, whether it's a school, whether it's your classroom, you have to believe in those people, and you have to overbelieve. He said one time he was asked, do you believe that you're an overachiever? And he replied, I'm not an overachiever. He goes, I'm an overbeliever, because I believe in them so much. I'm an overbeliever in them. And then he said, it can't be done. It happened perfectly last week that, second graders, you throw something that is a little outside their comfort zone, maybe that they haven't seen in a while. We're skip counting by 5s, and they're used to like 0 through 100. It's easy skills. We're working on that. So they did that. And then I said, all right, let's go 100 to 200. Young lady she looks at me. She's like, I can't do that. And I said, all right, so I take out, I said, I'm going to break out Dabo on her. And we write it on the board, said it can't be done. And we cross out that T, and it says it can be done. And so we talked about that. I went over to her, helped her out, and she got it. It just took a little bit of work. And how often that's at the young kids' age that we get wrapped up into it can't be done. That the first time that we come to a problem, we panic. As adults, maybe even we have some subconscious beliefs when we get that little bit of pushback, those feelings of, man, I can't do that. So it's about reframing that. And today, a little girl broke that, a different girl. She said that quote. She goes, it can't be done, but we crossed out that T. So it's just what do we feed, our kids? What do we feed ourselves? So I don't know where I'm going with all that. I'm rambling.
No, that's awesome.
But, keep going, brother. Just for those people in our audience, what is a spank?
I don't have a lot of experience with. Yeah, I think it's some of the lady undergarments. I think if the ladies would have a lot better explanation for the Spanx brand. What I do know is that Miss Sarah Blakely started with like $3,000 or $5,000. She's a billionaire today, all on her own. And I think, there's lessons we can learn from athletes, from entrepreneurs, those in the theater. Take those lessons. And it's not always like reading and writing. It's that drive, how we handle mistakes, communication skills, how we transform or give that to our students. That it's really going to take them above and beyond.
Yeah, I remember actually listening to that episode too, where you told the story about her and how, regardless what her product is, it was more, she had that deep rooted belief of failure leads to success, and that was ingrained so early in her life by her dad. And I really appreciate that his question was always, hey, what did you fail at? And that's something that I think we should be encouraging more people to ask that question. It's, failure is just a part of the process. It's not terminal. It's not the end of the road. It's just a part of the process. So I appreciate that you shared that story again tonight, because that's another one of those from your podcast that I've really appreciated listening to. So tell me something this year. You're a few weeks in. What's something that whether it's in your classroom or it's in your school or something like that, that you would say, man, this really surprised me in a really positive way? What's maybe something that has taken place?
I just think, it's crazy that what the school year is going to bring. I mean, with COVID already, we're a couple weeks in, and different things have happened within the school where different classrooms have had to shut down. So how everybody bonds together, how everybody supports one another, and it's not just the adults in the building, it's the parents, it's coming together, working as one, because ultimately it's not us against us against the parents. Is everybody, we're working for a common good, working to do great things together. So
yeah, got so fired up you just threw your headphones right out of your head.
There's so much going on. It just
man, that's like a Frank move right there,
Well, you know what? That's an excellent point too. A lot of people think that, it's us against them. No, it's we.
Yes.
So it can
Collective.
never be us against them. It always has to be not my idea or your idea, but it's the best idea. And when we get it all together, you see those little children, those students, those people that are our future coming across the hallway. And
yeah,
you explained it very well.
yeah, absolutely.
So what's on deck for Brian? You've stepped away from basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, continuing to rock and roll in the classroom and rock and roll in the podcast. What are some other things kind of down the road, or maybe some things that you're thinking, I'd really like to take this on, or, just some other challenge?
Yeah. I think James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, I think he was writing about Warren Buffett. And he said, you can only be great at a handful of things. And I think he said, it takes, so you got to pick what you want to be great at and really invest in it. So I think next 2 years, I just really want to invest in the podcast. I guess get a little bit better at social media. I enjoy Twitter. Instagram's outside of my comfort zone. So trying to step into Instagram and just being able to connect with more people, learn more. So if I can learn and I can grow, and then I can share it and grow that podcast. And then eventually, a couple years down the road, I'm practicing my writing. I heard there's a great company called Road to Awesome that, maybe I can link up with them and do some good things. But also, I'm part of the Road to Awesome podcasting network. So I'm excited to see where the Road to Awesome goes, and whatever the head honcho has planned, I hope that I can be a part of, just to help that mission. And I think your mission is just to reach educators. And when we talk about that feed and weed, weed and feed, that I'm with you gentlemen and feeding. Let's keep feeding. That's
Yeah, well, the thing that's next for Road to Awesome, other than we will be dropping Jeff Prickett's book, Becoming Principal, any day. That book is going to go live. So we're excited about that. But the next thing on the docket for Road to Awesome is actually the Road to Omaha, because the Road to Awesome will be uprooting the home office here in Hot Sulphur Springs, Colorado, early next week, and we'll be kind of nomads for about a week, and then early that very first week of October we'll get landed in Omaha. So our show on October 6th, Frank, will be from the new home office. It probably won't have anything on the wall yet, but this stuff is all coming down tonight. This is the last night for the home office here. So, Brian, yeah, you say you want to do everything you can to help. I mean, you could jump on a plane and be here Tuesday to help us move if you'd like. But
I'll pack up a little bit.
Yeah, that might be going above and beyond, man. You don't need to do that. So Frank, you got one more before we hit the final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering how you're going to fit everything in your Jeep, brother.
Well, I mean, that thing's got pretty strong suspension. Now we'll be, it's going to be kind of an interesting group, because, our daughter's still here. So my wife and I, 3 vehicles, 3 people, 2 dogs, add in a moving truck. So that means, we're pulling a vehicle behind the moving truck. So I get that fun responsibility, and yeah, it's going to be a caravan. So, but, we'll go spend a few days as part of our nomadic time with my wife's parents in Cheyenne, and do a little road Dawson work from there, and maybe a little road grader work out on the golf course, because that's about how I play. I might as well, have a road grader in my hand instead of a club. So, but yeah, I don't think it's all going to fit in the Jeep, Frank, but we'll, I'll make sure and send you a picture of the Grand Caravan. So it'll be exciting stuff.
How long of a trip is it from where you're at to Omaha?
If not for the moving truck, just in the car, it's about little over 8 hours. So about 650 miles, something like that. So, but it's Interstate 80, which means it's nonstop trucks. So, when I lived in Rock Springs, where Bradley is in Green River, right on I-80, and you were always dealing with those trucks. And when we moved away from there, we're like, yes, we're off of I-80. Yeah, no. Now we're just going to go further east on I-80. So yeah, but that's what's going on with us. So I think at this point in time, Frank, it is time for, where is it? There it is. Final thoughts. And let's see who gets to go first. Let's see here. Oh, I go first. There you go. Okay. So that's wonderful. So I have no final thought prepared. So here we go. I'm gonna say this. When I reached out to Brian and asked him to be on the pod, or be on the show, I knew we'd talk about his podcast. I knew we'd talk about his classroom. Again, learned something today about his wife teaching in the same building as him. But I'll tell you this is my big takeaway and my final thought from listening to Brian talk. You can never bring too much positive energy. I mean, you just can't. Right now, in all of our schools across the country, it is really, really difficult to get through the course of the day. Brian mentioned, classrooms having to go into quarantine, and, in some places it's mass, in some places it isn't. In some places it's people showing up and, making a fool of themselves at the board meetings because they don't like either direction, no matter what it is. And just so much negativity right now, just toxic negativity. And so my final thought, and I guess even a challenge for everybody, is just remember that there's one thing that you can control, and that's you. You can control your attitude. You can control how you choose to show up. You can control to bring that positive energy like Brian does. So Brian, thank you so much for bringing that positive energy to the Empower Half Hour and for bringing it to your school each and every day.
Well, thank you, brother.
All right, let's see. Why can I not get you to move?
Nice.
I'm working on it, That's not what I want.
Anyway, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go next.
Yeah, there you go.
What I feel. Anything is catchy. So if you're bringing those positive vibes down the hallway or in your classroom or into your life, that's catchy. It's the opposite of negativity. So keep bringing it, and you bring it strong. And if people aren't getting it, then you still keep bringing it. So thank you. Peace and love. Always win.
Brian, you get the anchor. Final thought.
Nice. I get to close the show here with the closure of the final thoughts. But, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Darren, Dr. Frank. It's been awesome to get to meet you. And, I would just say, to build onto that positivity, find something to celebrate. If you look, and you don't have to look hard, but if you look for it, there's joy. I'm going to talk about this in my next podcast, but I was standing outside today, and where my room's at. All right. I look right out the window where the parents drop their kids off. I'm right next to the door, and I'm just watching these parents dropping their kids off in the morning, hugs, kisses, high fives. It's a beautiful moment. Being there live with my students, hearing them laugh, joking around with them, beautiful moments. Being there, being able to connect with my colleagues, like Dr. Frank said, what you give off is what's going to come back to you. So if I'm giving off positive energy, those people, they're going to give it back to me. And there's so much beauty in the day. We only have so many days. So why not spend our days? John or Dabo Sweeney had a quote. He said, "I will do what I can while I can. So when I cannot, I will not wish I could have when I could have." Let's make today a beautiful day. Let's celebrate today. Let's lift each other up.
Awesome stuff, Brian. Thank you so much. Everybody get out there, have a Road to Awesome week. Join us again next week. I believe our guest next week is Dr. Jeffrey Prickett, who will be a brand new author at that point in time. So
nice.
Have a Road to Awesome week, everybody.